Alright, hello everybody and welcome. Today we have a replay of me up against, who's this? Oh, that's right, Clan Easy MMR's MMR Collector. Now if you don't know who that is yet, that's Scarlett. And she is one of the best Protoss players in the world who doesn't play that much Protoss. But when she does, especially in Protoss vs Zerg, oh my god. Honestly, one of the most disgusting things. Everything she does is disgusting. Honestly, she is the true essence of a Zerg player who deeply hates Protoss and wants to constantly prove to everyone how overpowered and disgusting they are. So twice in the last week, she has messaged me randomly on Battle.net and said, yo, Pig, want to see some disgusting bullshit? And I've gone, and so continues. This is 80% of my interactions with Scarlett. It's Scarlett trying to prove to me why Protoss is broken, and me going, well, that's, that's a pretty powerful build, but okay, you could probably do this to counter it. And her going, no, it's unfair, it's broken. And this is 90% of our interactions. Me and Scarlett have a 8-year debate going now, where I'm going, look, some things are pretty powerful, that's StarCraft, and it's her saying Protoss is objectively broken and disgusting. Here's why. And I gotta say, you can go back historically and find good reasons why she thinks this. And it's because she always does the most abusive, most cheesy builds. When she plays Protoss, she does the grossest shit you can possibly imagine. There are some clever mind games. I mean, I often get in a position where I'm like, I think I'm beating her. And then she does the tech switch you would never expect, but is perfect for the situation. She's a player who will funnel you into making lots of roaches and then surprise you with 2 Stargate Phoenix. She's a player who will be like, make you go lurkers and already have the disruptors ready. She just has layers of bullshit to her play where she is so big brain and she is always thinking of a disgusting way of doing it. I mean, she loves massing oracles. She loves massing oracles. She used to do that like just over and over again. There was a period she wasn't enjoying Zerg vs Zerg, about 2017, I believe it was. So she just basically went Protoss whenever she matched a Zerg in a tournament. And she would just mass oracles, and that's all she'd do. She'd literally just make like 5 Stargates and just be like, lol, 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 lol. And she'd just have these fleets of oracles diving into Zerg bases, kill all the drones, run away, come in from another angle. And here we have her once again, just going, hey, Pig, look at how frigging disgusting this is. Now, to the untrained eye, that's just a good cannon spot. It's really annoying. Don't get me wrong. This is a very good cannon spot. What's so disgusting about this one is she got me up and beat me there off of a Nexus first. So there is a player on the ladder. Shout out to, you're about to get famous, Void. Void is about 5,200 MMR. We're talking low Grandmaster on the NA ladder. And Scarlett has dubbed you, Void, a genius. Scarlett has said, Void is a genius. She said, this guy is so smart. Whoever came up with this build is a genius. I think it's this guy. He did it to me on the ladder. I'm like, what? She's like, I still won the game because he messed up in the follow-up or whatever. And I was able to break out with Ravages or something. She's like, but I saw the potential. And what this is no pylon, 15 Nexus, right? So, very start of the game, watch this. As soon as the game starts, you chrono boost your probes because you're going to get supply boxed on 15 anyway. So you might as well speed up getting those first 2 probes out. You've got nothing else to spend chrono on. So you just go goof, and then basically you mine a bit of minerals. So you just build your three probes, sorry. And then at about what, 250 minerals, 300, I guess, you'll probably send a probe down there, and you go, oh, look at me, I'm gonna go Nexus first. And I've played against this a lot on the NA ladder, and I do normally defend this. So I've defended this a lot. However, the problem is, in all of my test scenarios, other than this one, I knew what I was going up against to some extent because I knew Void or Rocker or one of these other dirty Cannon Rush players was on the loading screen. So I either opened pool first or I sent a really early drone scout. So as their probe arrives at my base, I'm arriving and going, oh, that's Nexus first into Forge. And I'd pull some drones and I'd react, right? So this is definitely a situation where in this scenario, I react especially slow. So keep in mind, I still have not pulled a drone. Normally, my response, if I'm playing safe against a player, especially if I know they're a cheesy bastard or I don't know too much about them, is at this moment here. When I see that probe arrive, I already pull a drone. In this game, my drones don't pull till the pylons go down. Now, that doesn't seem like a big difference to a lot of people, but it is. Let me tell you why. She just got enough money to start the double pylon wall off. I'm not sure exactly what time, maybe 125. Let's see. So, yeah, about 125. So if you can get down there before then, she actually can't get the full 3 pylon wall off, right? So this is something to keep in mind. Now, what's so weird about this is she has actually built probes behind this. So she's even chronoed them behind this as well. So even if she just forces you to pull a lot of drones, she's still got a decent transition, which is the kind of gross thing about this build. Because when people have done this to me on the ladder, I almost never let the cannon rush get up, but I never feel like I'm ahead afterwards. I always feel like I'm at best a little ahead, and I know how to play from there pretty well, so usually I do win after defending it. But notice, if we pull the drone down, she doesn't get the next 200 minerals until 129, because she's done another chrono and probe to 17. So, because of that, guess what? If you got a drone down by this point, and you're able to get in there and kind of block it or get inside the cage, this is the cage, then you can kill that probe from the inside. So that's actually really super important. If you get a drone in there, that's big. If you're already hitting these pylons, breaking it down, that's big as well. So these are the key things with defending any sort of cage with a drone pull. The problem with this particular wall off on this map is if you don't get inside the cage, you cannot pull drones to defeat it. And the reason is twofold. Number one, there is no surface area on this pylon. You can fit like 1 drone there and 1 drone there. Maybe 2 drones on that side. That's not enough. On these pylons, you've got a little bit of surface area. Once again, not that much. So that's number one. Number two, the second problem is she can build a cannon and a second layer of pylons. So a lot of people talk about death aura, and they go, oh, they get the pylon wall off. You can't get it, you know. The problem with that one is there's no space for the second layer of pylons. So the thing is, often how you defend a rush like this is basically you're never going to kill the cannon in time, but you can kill all 3 pylons, and then the cannon finishes, gets a few shots off, the last pylon dies, cannon's depowered. Cannon's useless if it doesn't have pylons powering it, which means if they bring a second probe in, you pull heaps of drones to kill that, to stop its pylons going up, you can defend it. But with this sort of build, this sort of disgusting one, there's that. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about getting drones in there. Okay, you can get a drone in there. What if the probe just runs up the ramp for a few seconds longer, goes, and then runs down and builds the first pylon later? So what if she gives a tell of what she's doing later, rather than putting that first pylon down straight away? You've got even less time to react, right? The scary thing here, and the one thing that she's on the clock against with this disgusting cannon rush, is if she doesn't start that pylon soon, the cannons are going to be starting so goddamn late, you could just pull drones down and build a bunch of spines. Because if you don't get your cannon early enough, creep starts to spread out. They only build 1 or 2 cannons, and you just build 3 spines, uproot them, walk them over, kill the 2 cannons. It's held. So there is a trade-off when you go for such a late cannon rush here. And it is something which does cost them a bit. However, I think the last thing you'd want to be doing here against a Nexus first cannon rush is canceling the hatch and rebuilding it. Could you do it? Yes. You'd need to immediately take a third as well. But to me, if I did that, I feel they're just going to cancel the pylons, invest in like a single cannon and pylon. They're going to chrono probes, gateway, double gas. Is their tech going to be late? Yes, but goddamn, is their economy going to be out of control? So a really disgusting spot. And the idea here of just, if I pull a whole lot of drones, this ends up getting cancelled, she's still got a good economy. This is pretty gross, but this is not the only game. So let me show you guys another one. Just for those of you who don't know, a little piece of history really quickly. Take a look at this. So we're going back to 2014 MLG. MLG Anaheim, June 27, 2014 is when this was posted on YouTube, so it was sometime just before that. Dongregu and Scarlett were facing off in a big Zerg vs. Zerg series, and this is the first time, the famous match where Scarlett changed race. So let's go back to the very start of this game, actually. Let's catch the in-game banter, because they were like, what? So right at the very start of the game, here we go. So we've got Cats and Day9 who are like, what the hell is happening? She just picked Protoss. And DRG thinks it's an accident. He goes, regame, regame. She goes, no, play. DRG goes, question mark? She's like, yeah, I'm Protoss. Seriously? She's like, yeah. He goes, oh my God. So, I mean, this is kind of dirty because she didn't even like announce it to him beforehand. But apparently it was in the rules. You're allowed to just change race. You don't need to tell your opponent. They should be looking at your race in the loading screen kind of thing. But this, I mean, DRG is like, what the fudge is going on? So Scarlett there is like, I'm a cheeky piece of shit. She's just being dirty as. So she comes in here and actually basically just does this strategy. She pulls out. What does she do whenever she off-races Protoss vs Zerg? Why are we going to this one? She always picks the most aggressive, disgusting build that all of us are talking about and struggling against. So back then, this was Hitman's build order. So for those who don't know, Hitman is literally this guy. He does a bit of shit talk, but mostly he's basically this just young college student. Maybe he's finished college these days, probably has. But he was this young, like kind of 18-year-old American guy who just was a massive stoner. And he basically, every game on the ladder did the exact same build. And he was like rank 1 on any ladder a lot in this time period. And he figured out everyone was playing in a very tight meta, and he just always did his own thing. I'm not sure if he really watched any pro play or anything, but he basically, this is Heart of the Swarm. Everyone was going fast expand into 2 gas. He realized he could just do a 1 gate expand and stay on a single gas geyser, cut probes at 2 base saturation, and just make 7 gateways and just do an insanely fast Zealot Stalker attack. And this would hit before the Zerg, because the Zergs were trying to get a 3 base economy to compete with the Protoss 2 base economy. Zergs were under the assumption they needed to build more workers than the Protoss to hold on, but this was often hitting before Ling speed because people were delaying it at the time, or before Roach speed. And Stalkers could out-micro Queens, Roaches, Spines, and Zealots would beat Zerglings. So because of this, Zergs were thrown through a loop, and we all had to put our brain trust together for a long time because we all kept dying to it. We kept going, okay, this guy is objectively not that fast and skilled at the game, right? But this build, we were all talking about. I remember long discussions with Snoot and Rhett and all of these top Zergs. We were all like, how do we defend this? And I believe it was Snoot who eventually really kind of said, look, guys, there is no follow-up to this build for the Protoss. It's just Zealots and Stalkers. We actually need to cut at like 30 drones, which is what DRG's done here, like less workers than the Protoss, which was heresy. The idea of stopping at less workers than the Protoss back then was like this brain imploding, absolute maddening thing, right? So it was this crazy idea of we need to always have half a base or more of workers above the Protoss or we're behind. Why do we think this? Because we have sentries. They have sentries, they have immortals, they have Colossus, they have Archons, they have all these units. As a Zerg, you didn't even have Ravagers. You could not break Force Field until Ultralisk Tech. So you were always less efficient as a Zerg. You were just swarming them with Roaches and Zerglings, and then maybe eventually like Hydras, and then like Broodlords or Infestors or Ultras or something like that. But up until those later points, it was you needed way more stuff. I mean, there were many games where the Zerg was up 60 army supply and still lost because the force fields would just split their army, the Colossus would do big splash, the Stalkers would be blinking back. The Protoss had all this technical efficiency, and the Zerg's job was to get such a numbers advantage that they could just squash in and compact from both sides. So the problem that actually happened here is basically we had to go back to the drawing board and say, this is not a Protoss build. Every other Protoss plays those efficient styles. This is a Zerg Toss build. This is where the Protoss player actually pretends they're a Zerg player and just swarms you with basic shit units. So they've kind of done a role reversal, and as a Zerg, we realize you just need to get enough Roaches together to be really efficient versus the Zealots. Some Queens, potentially Zerglings and stuff backing you up. The Stalkers are still going to be good versus your Roaches, but they can only make so many. They have to make a lot of Zealots because they're short on gas. And with creep, especially if you get some creep forward, you could micro in and out. And their attack has no follow-up. So you could be down 5 workers, even 10 workers against this build. And as soon as you hold, you would drone 3 bases so quickly, you're already building a higher tier army. And they're like, I'm making slow Zealots. And when they do want to transition off this build, which Hitman would never do, by the way, all they could do is start a second gas geyser, start a third gas geyser, and very, very slowly start to transition. So we would always get ahead in the follow-up, 3 base versus 2 base. And it took us a while to figure this out. DRG did not know about this build. They hadn't figured it out in Korea. Came over to MLG, and Scarlett here pulled out a disgusting cheese and took a sneaky win. And this is something she has always been at the forefront of, is finding what she considers to be the most unfair, difficult to deal with Protoss builds, and then immediately going and actually playing some Protoss games, learning how to execute it. And it does make her an expert at stopping them eventually, but sometimes, rather than just becoming an expert at stopping it, she says, I'm just going to swap race and do that build and get disgusting wins. Scarlett is a freak. She is one of the most talented gamers ever. She picks things up incredibly quickly. It's not easy for many people to do this, but yeah, she actually defeated DRG here with her off race, and everybody lost their frigging minds. So she lost the ZVZ. She said, fuck this, swapped to Protoss, and I believe she won the series. I'm not sure if it was swapping back to Zerg in the final game, but a really cool turnaround from Scarlett. Maybe she did the same build twice in a row. I can't quite remember. But that was awesome. So let's take a look now at exactly what else Scarlett showed me. So this was, I think, the day... So this one, I think, was the day before yesterday. And she said, I've got some more bullshit on the new maps to show you, pig. And I was like, oh, God. I'll admit I was a little more prepared this time. But I said, I am not going to blind counter her. Okay? I am just going to play a standard build, but I'm just going to be on my toes, so as soon as I see a probe, I'll pull a drone to react the way I would against a normal player. So my first Overlord goes across the map. My second Overlord is going to rally to the natural and then go out front a bit. And, of course, Scarlett is just doing a cannon rush. And this, by the way, is Beckett Industries. Oh, no, 2,000 Atmospheres. Beckett Industries is the rush map. This is 2,000 Atmospheres, as we see the map name there. So she comes in, and I immediately am like, mother trucker, and I bring a drone down, and then I see she's running behind the minerals, and I immediately grab another 4. I see her put a pylon down, and I'm like, yep, nope. We are going to just bring a lot of drones. So she immediately goes for a wall off there, and she gets a 4 pylon wall off. However, this time I'm attacking it much earlier. It looks very similar to that situation on Romanticide. Lots of space for extra pylon wall offs. She got cannons back here. It looks like it'll be really hard to stop, but a lot more surface area on these 2 pylons. And notice this pylon. That pylon I can't really hit, but this pylon I can get 5 workers attacking it at once, so it'll die really quickly. A lot of people always ask, and I've even just had a question in chat, how do you defend cannon rushes without Ravages? Well, cannon rushes would have hit a lot later back then, but the same way we've always defended cannon rushes, the best way. In Legacy of the Void, people have a crutch. It's we let the cannon rush get up, and then we try to defend with the Ravager. It's a shit way of doing it. It's always been suboptimal if the Protoss cannon rusher knows how to follow it up correctly, which fortunately most Koreans don't know how to do. No, most players in general don't know how to do. So you're going to notice the cannon gets up, but she didn't have space for a pylon in there, and we've depowered the cannon. So as I was talking about before, the way to defend a lot of these is the cannon. She's going, ah, shit. Well, I die. Okay, you got in there. So this was not a Nexus first. This was just a really abusive positioning. But what was really interesting, and she tells us in the chat in a moment, is what was so brutal is if she can get this one up, and she's not sure if she can if someone reacts as quickly and expertly with their drones as me, which, by the way, no pro gamer does what I just did. Ever. Solar, Dark, nobody. I watch them. Even when they pull drones, it's a maximum of 6, 7, 8. They will never pull enough to kill all those pylons. Almost ever. Almost ever. I actually saw Geralt the other day in a PvP do this, but then he fucked up and started chasing the probe with all of his probes and let the second layer of cannon rush get up, and it beat him. Even though he had a perfect defense. So she says the high ground, you can actually cannon the mineral line. So she can build up, once that gets up, her second probe comes in. If we can get a pylon up here, she can actually deny 2 mineral patches and the gas. Also, might even be in range of your sporting pool if you build it up here. Don't build your sporting pool up here. Build it over here. And apparently shield batteries there can heal cannons up here as well, which is super disgusting. And I already have been a big fan of 12 pool at the moment to try and mess with Protoss build orders. I think they're getting a bit too comfortable. Also happens to have that. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to 12 pool every game. It's fine. She says, my money was low, so maybe I actually can't hold the drone. So that's what Scarlett was worried about here. So let's investigate that question. Is it just not possible? What can she do differently with the wall off if someone reacts quickly with drones? Remember, she got the wall off up. So this is a pretty expensive wall off, but you might be like, why doesn't she just put a pylon there? Now, the reason is there is actually a hole there, guys. That is being blocked by that pylon. Even though it kind of doesn't look like it, that pylon blocks that one. And then with that pylon as well, it blocks that. So these are the 2 entrance points behind the mineral line. There is no path behind the minerals like a lot of maps would have. So she kind of has to put the pylons there. She has to do a 4 pylon wall off. So this is not a 3 pylon wall off. This is a more expensive wall off. Now, I think you could argue maybe she could go pylon, and then she could go pylon there, and actually have a huge space and many potential angles to work with. So let's look at that. Could she have done that? No, because she literally barely... Look at this. I was so close to getting in there. She just hit 100 minerals, immediately put it down. If she even had a little bit of delay, if she was playing cross-server, she probably would not have got that pylon down. Okay, cool. So notice I split my drones up and I attack all the pylons. I block the cannon spots, I attack all the pylons. My favorite way to defend a cannon rush is to not let it happen, because I know they're going to be really well versed in the follow-up. If they're cannon rushing, they're probably an expert in it. I am not. This is the questionable part. Now, those two pylons were close to... Remember, that pylon was close to dying, so she has to cancel it anyway. But instead of this gateway, this is where she could have done things better. Check this out. If we think about this, what she should have done here is ran the probe over and just put another pylon down there, right? The question is, would that have worked? No, that wouldn't have worked, actually. Ah, okay. If she builds a pylon there, there's a diagonal they can move through. But, I believe anyway. Maybe? I'm not sure. I really am not sure. I would need to test it. But even if there is a diagonal they can move through, well, these two pylons could potentially have been a little further forward. In that case, though, my drone would have blocked it in time. It's close. It's very, very tight. But basically, so could she have built a gateway there? Potentially, yes. And if she just cancelled one pylon, she gets 75 minerals back. Problem for her is this pylon's getting very low. And if she doesn't cancel it now, they were both about to finish in a second and a half. So she could have let those pylons finish, but then she's going to be very low on minerals to build the next layer of wall off. So if she cancels those two pylons and then she builds a gateway, which is a lovely little wall off. Now, if she runs up on the high ground and tries to get a pylon there with this probe, could that work? Because a pylon there would power the cannon, right? So I think she could have ran to the high ground and built a pylon on the high ground. Now, she would have to go pylon, so that if I pull drones, I can't kill them both. But I think that might actually work. Remember that in this scenario, I've pulled so many drones, I haven't even got a spawning pool on the way. I have to shut this down. That's what happens when you invest this many drones in it. But she goes to try to put pylons down here to repower it. She should have gone for the high ground, I believe. Yeah. Now, obviously, she is mining with 15 workers this whole time. Sometimes people look at this scenario and they go, if you pull this many drones, are you just worse off? It all comes down to if you shut down the cannon rush or not. If they're only on 15 probes like this, one base, you can absolutely afford to pull pretty much every single drone, delay your spawning pool. When the dust settles and she starts chronoing probes and building a gateway at home, she's going to be on 15 workers, I'm on 18. Yes, I don't have a spawning pool, but I've got 2 hatcheries. She's just starting her transition. This sort of commitment, where I'm having this many drones delay this much time, if she's got a nexus up like in the previous scenario, very different scenario. If you guys want to become an expert at defending cannon rushes, it really does take just a little bit of thinking about the context of each cannon rush and how much you're committing to it, as well as the timing. This cannon rush comes in much faster and harder because she's not put the nexus down beforehand. And as a result, you can invest a lot more in actually defending it. So check it out. Make sure you guys are very aware. If you weren't already about Romanticide, keep an eye on the fact that there is no path behind these minerals here. This is a very scary spot. Pool first is going to give you a head start. 12 pool is going to make it really easy. Or simply pull your drone down the moment you see a probe coming. Now, if you are worried about that, you like playing a more defensive reactive style, there's nothing wrong with doing a drone scout. There are too many Zergs out there who are, nope, can't drone scout, nope, nope, nope. And then they complain about cannon rush all day. If you're not good at defending cannon rush, you're not scouting to give yourself any warning, well, just remember StarCraft is the hardest, most challenging game in the world, and it is always going to demand mental flexibility and adjustments from you. Stubbornness in terms of trying something until you get perfect execution is always good, but the moment you're throwing your hands up in the air in frustration, you've pushed it too far, it's time to make the adjustment. Get on it, guys. I hope this made you guys aware of some new Protoss bullshit. I, once again, have proven that even Scarlett with her most bullshit build, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. I reacted on the fly, adapted as I would in a focused ladder or tournament game. I did hold on against this one, but I'm curious to see if she hits me up in a few days and does another dirty version of this, hits it slightly better executed, and I die and go, fuck, I need to do that 12 pull, or I need to preemptively pull that drone down. We'll see exactly how it goes. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this one was a little enlightening about some of the dirty filth that Scarlett is once again letting the Zerg community know about and prepare for. Good luck, guys.